Sure, my name is Devra, D-E-V as in Victor, R-A. Last name is Ashby, A-S-H-B-Y, and I am the Chief Communications Officer for Colorado Springs School District 11. I have been with School District 11 for 12 years, and prior to that, I was in various capacities of communications for government entity, for a hospital, in communications departments, and prior to that, I was a television journalist, anchor reporter. So I guess total, about 25 years.
Awesome. How did you first become interested in this career?
Well, I first became interested in communications when I went into music, and I really wanted to do music. Wanted to be on Broadway, wanted to do all kinds of things with a musical career. But that was not the path for me, and I ended up coming back from Indiana State University and started going to UCCS because I missed home. And so when I came back, there was no music program at UCCS, and I really had to do a really hard look into what I really wanted to do. And I was taking just basic classes and decided that, you know what, I could do what those people on TV were doing. I could really communicate. It really drove me nuts when I was growing up that people weren't fully communicating with each other, and things would get complicated because people didn't express what they meant and talk how they needed to talk. And so I thought, you know, I think I could do that. And so the more I pursued communications, I thought television journalism was the way for me to go. And then a few years into my television journalism career, I thought I needed to have a little bit more solidity in my life and something that was going to keep me grounded, because with television you move a lot. You go all over the place because you have to jump markets in order to move up. And so I decided that that wasn't the path for me, and I wanted to kind of set my roots down and have a family, and decided to go into public relations. And so I started in a public relations field with a hospital over in Grand Junction. Did that for a while and came over here and worked for the city of Colorado Springs and did that for a while, and then I ended up here in School District 11 supporting teachers, which is absolutely where I'm supposed to be, because I came from a family of teachers and educators and felt like I needed to be supporting them in some way. I'm not a teacher, but if I can be here and support that and see students, work with students, it's the best day every day that I get to work with students. So I started off with just my general college courses, got those under my belt, came back to UCCS, and I majored in media management communications. And then actually there was a large span between my bachelor's and my master's. I actually just received my master's in 2020 in communications. Felt like, you know, I see all these great, wonderful educators, and if we're talking about being lifelong educators and talking about being lifelong learners, we really need to be practicing what we preach. And so I decided to go back and get my master's 3 years ago, and got my master's in March.
Well, congratulations with that.
Thank you. You know, you have to be very much detail-oriented. You have to pay attention to the things that people don't necessarily pay attention to, because you're working with design elements, you're working with communication, writing. So being a good writer, being very detail-oriented and paying attention to all of the little pieces that make up an individual piece of communication, because you want it to be clear, you want it to reach the target audience, you want to make sure that there are no mistakes in that communication, which isn't always possible. Everybody makes mistakes, as we're all human, but I think that is a huge character trait for being in this position. I think another one is just the ability to build relationships and have relationships with people, because that's essentially what public relations is building those relationships and maintaining them, building trust between your audiences and the organization with whom you're a part of. And so I think those are two key traits. It's all over the map. It's really wherever you want to go. And this field has really exploded because of the introduction of social media. And so, you know, you can choose to go in the path of public relations and do strictly PR. You can choose to go into journalism. You can choose to go into social media management and social media moderation. That's actually the newest position that I've seen just a huge amount of growth in since the advent of social media and using social media for organizations and for the purpose of reaching key audiences. So I think, you know, the starting salary, it really just depends on what path you want to use in communications. I've seen as little as about $20,000, $25,000 a year, and I've seen it go all the way up to six figures. So it really just depends on the path that you want to take and where your desire is. I work in an office, but the best part of my day is when I get to go to a school and I get to see students, because I think that's just the hope that, you know, we're doing work to support our school district. We're doing the work to support our educators and to support the overall foundation of school in our community. And so when I get to go into a school, those are the best days, really. But I work with all different kinds of people. I work with all different stakeholders, from parents, community members, business members. We work with students, we work with the Board of Education, we work with government agencies, and so there's a lot of different stakeholders and people that I get to see on a regular basis. I'm in my office probably about 60% of the time, and then the other time I'm out in schools, out in the community, out doing other things that will support our school district and build those relationships that I was talking about earlier. Work week can be anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week, just depending on what kind of work we have going on. I attend all board meetings, and so those, just depending on the length of the meeting and what's happening in the board meeting. And then on the weekends, you know, if we have something happening on the weekends, any kind of public engagement or even a crisis that tends to happen on the weekends or the evenings, I'm called upon to do a duty there too. So it can just vary, just depending on the week. So that was the question that I was looking forward to the most, because there really is no typical day. I think that I'll have, I have my meetings, so I'll look through my meetings for the week, and Sunday evenings I just kind of lay out what my week's going to look like. And get prepared for anything that I can prepare for ahead of time. But because of the nature of public relations and communications, there's really nothing typical, because things just come up. Sometimes they're good things, sometimes they're bad things, and just depending on the nature of the situation, it will require or pull my attention away from something else, and so I have to really prioritize what's happening. But typically, I'll start my Sundays laying out my week, looking at my meeting schedule and getting prepared for those things, looking at the tasks that I have to do, and then preparing for those things as well. And then, when things hit that come out of the blue, I have to sort of step back and reprioritize what is the first thing that I need to do and get done, and then work through my schedule that way. But that's sort of the appeal to me, is that no day is the same as the day before. I think the benefits are that I get to help people understand the organization and be interactive with the organization. That means so much to so many people. District 11 is over 150 years old, I think, about 145 years old maybe, but just such a rich history in helping our community be able to interact with our organization. Some people will think that, the district, I hear the district did this, the district did that. But it's a bunch of dedicated people who really want to see the best benefit for all students who walk through our doors. And I think that's huge. That's really what keeps me in this job, is every year the graduation ceremonies and seeing the students who have accomplished so much as they walk across the stage, get their diploma, and really meeting families that I've met throughout the years, that I get to see the happiness and the joy as their students get to graduate and go out in the world and be successful. Probably some of the best stories that I hear are when I have students who are alumni, and they come back and they talk about their experiences in District 11, and then they tell me about the successes that they're achieving out in the world, and that's huge. That is so exciting to see. I think some of the challenges, though, are also, we're a mirror of society in our school district. So everything that's happening in society is happening in our school district, which can be very difficult, especially when you're talking about young children. The things that they face, the neglect or abuse or any kind of substance abuse in their lives, or any kind of hurt in their lives. That's really difficult and challenging to see, and has sometimes impacted some of the things that, some of the way I think about this job. But ultimately, you really have to keep your eye on the positive things, and it helps you work through some of those negative things too. Well, I have a family, and so I do think it is very compatible with family life. That's sort of why I left my career in television journalism, was because I didn't see that as compatible. I wanted to be home on Christmas. I wanted to be home on most of my weekends, wanted to be able to put my kids to bed at night and help them with homework. And so I have been able to do that. My daughter was 4 years old she was 3 years old when I first started working here. And she's 15 now. So I've been able to raise her all in D11 schools. We chose both of our kids into D11 schools because we believe so much of the work that is happening in District 11. And so, my husband has been able to be a full-time dad for some of the time that our children have been growing up, and that's been huge because he's been able to be there for them, and I've been able to be there for them on the times that I need to be there for them. My employer is an amazing organization to work for because the board and the superintendent believe so much in family, because why would we be in this business if we didn't? And so they're very understanding if we have to, go leave early for a basketball game, or be able to schedule things throughout the day for our kids, and that's really important. The kids, hands down, the kids are my favorite aspect of this job because, again, that's my why. And I think that's pretty much everybody's why who works in this district, is to be able to see the kids, see their accomplishments, see their aha moments, see the excitement of learning. And that's huge. Well, that's a very good question because it has changed so much over the past few years. And I look at projections and things that people think will be taking place, and I just see digital communications continuing to grow. It's such a big way that we communicate these days, is through any kind of digital mediums, especially social media. I see that social media will continue to be a way of life for us. I know that there are some that wish that it had never happened, but your generation coming up, you've been raised with social media. Basically, it's how you communicate, and so learning the intricacies of those different social mediums and being able to target the audiences, I just think that that's going to explode, can continue to explode over the next several years. You know what? I would say write. Be able to just put your feelings down, put your interest down, be able to just write your thoughts, because writing is so big, and being able to put those things into a journal. The more you write, the better you get. And don't think for a minute that you're not a good writer, because everybody can be a good writer if they really want to be. So I'd say just really start writing. Just start writing things. It really doesn't matter what it is, because again, the more you write, the more you'll feel comfortable with it. If you really want to get into this career, I would start to look at different organizations out there. Public Relations Society of America has a opportunity for younger folks to be involved with PRSA, and it's a great way to network. Get your LinkedIn profile up. Some of the students that I've talked to are like, what's LinkedIn? I'm like, yeah, come on, guys, you guys are the kids of this next generation with social media, and you don't know about LinkedIn yet. You probably should look into LinkedIn, get your resume out there. And again, I always talk about the things that you do on social media. You have a choice on what your digital footprint is going to be, and that digital footprint will impact you positively or negatively long term, because anything that you put on the internet is there for a lifetime, whether you have your privacy settings locked down or not. And so just be very wary and very careful about what you do on the internet. That goes for any career out there these days, and that goes for adults even these days, because adults make mistakes too. But I think those are important steps to start taking. And if you're really interested, there's opportunities to shadow, to see if it's something. I would really suggest shadowing somebody for a day, being an intern if you have the opportunity to be an intern, because it really gives you an eye-opening experience. And it may not be something that you want to do. It may really turn you away from it, and that's okay, because you're young enough to know that you have some time to make those decisions in life. I really didn't. I kind of landed here by the way of the universe. I don't think it was anything that I had intended to be and do all along, but this was the path that I was put on, and I'm very glad that it is. So just take the opportunities as they're given to shadow or intern, and see what you really want to do. You have time, so take that time and make sure it's really what you want to pursue in life.